All right, let's dive into something pretty wild. We're going to talk about this fascinating idea that we carry these inherited memories inside us. But more importantly, we're going to explore how we can actually become the architects of our own emotional world.
So let me just ask you this. Have you ever felt a wave of anxiety, or maybe this nagging stress, or a pattern of fear that it doesn't feel like it's yours? It's like you're tuned into some old crackly radio station that's playing someone else's song. Well, a lot of us feel that way, and the reason why might be hiding a lot deeper than you think.
The whole idea here is that we might literally be carrying the emotional echoes of our ancestors' lives, their struggles, their traumas, their stress, right inside of us. I mean, just think about that for a second. Their experiences could be vibrating in our very cells today.
Now, there's a really popular theory out there, especially if you're into biohacking or personal development, that says our mitochondria are the culprits. The idea is that these tiny little power plants, which we get from our mothers, are like storage lockers for all this ancestral baggage. And look, it's a really compelling idea, but if we want to make a real, lasting change, we have to get the science right.
So let's clear things up and look at the biological reality. It's super important to understand the difference between what our mitochondria do and what the true master controller of our inherited traits is, which is, the operating system of our DNA.
Don't get me wrong, mitochondria are absolutely essential. They're the energy factories for our cells, and yeah, they are incredibly sensitive to stress. When we're stressed out, their energy production just tanks. But they aren't the main hard drive for ancestral trauma. The real story, well, that's written somewhere else entirely.
Okay, so here's the key difference. Think of mitochondria as the power plant, right? But epigenetics, that's like the software running on your DNA. So this isn't about the power supply, it's about the actual program that's running. Epigenetics is the thing that records generational stress and tells your genes how to behave.
And that leads us right to epigenetics, the real game changer here. This is the science of how your ancestors' experiences can influence your life today without ever changing a single letter of your actual DNA code.
Here's a brilliant way to picture it. Imagine your DNA is this enormous library, and it's filled with every possible book about you. Epigenetics doesn't rewrite any of the books. Nope. Instead, it's like a bunch of sticky notes, highlights, and bookmarks that past generations left behind, all pointing to very specific pages. These little epigenetic notes are what tell your body which pages of the library to read aloud, which genes to turn on or off. So a super stressful event for your great-grandmother might have slapped a bookmark on a gene related to being on high alert, making your nervous system way more likely to jump into survival mode today. And this right here, this brings us to the most empowering news of all. These markers, they are not permanent. You are not a victim of this inherited code. You are the programmer, and you have the power to write a brand new program.
So, how do we do it? How do we actually become the programmer? Well, that brings us to this 3-step reprogramming. This is a really clear process for tuning out that ancestral static and rewriting your code for good.
The framework is pretty simple, but it is so powerful. First, we learn to observe our own internal state. Second, we actively reprogram the old patterns using visualization. And third, we synchronize our biology to make that change stick. Let's break down each one.
All right, step 1 is all about becoming a conscious observer of your own inner world. It's about creating an interface between your awareness and all those automatic reactions that just happen.
So imagine you have 3 radios constantly playing inside you: your emotions, your logic, and your deeper consciousness. The whole goal here is to realize that some of that background static, that anxiety, that fear, it isn't your signal. It's an inherited frequency. Your job is to just learn how to observe it, like listening to a distant station, without letting it become your entire reality.
Once you can actually watch that old pattern without getting totally sucked into it, you're ready for step 2. This is where we get active and start overriding it with some really powerful reprogramming techniques.
This whole process kicks off with a really deep desire for change. That's your fuel. Then you use these intense visualizations to literally carve out new neural pathways in your brain. By linking this powerful new feeling to a physical touch, we call that an anchor, you can bring it back in an instant. This literally flips your nervous system from fight or flight mode into rest and recovery.
And that brings us to the final step: synchronization. This is where we lock in all those changes on a biochemical level. We create a state of coherence where your new program becomes the default setting.
And this shift is real. It's biochemical.
When you're in a reactive state, your body's just flooded with stress hormones. But when you get into a coherent state, it starts pumping out vitality hormones like DHEA. This isn't just a mental trick. It's a deep biological upgrade that neutralizes old stress patterns right down at the cellular level.
So how do you do it? This is the best part. It's shockingly simple. You use your breath as a remote control for your nervous system. A slow, rhythmic breathing pattern, like breathing in for 5 seconds and out for 5 seconds, aligns the rhythms of your heart and your brain, and that creates that powerful, measurable state of coherence.
And when you follow these steps, you do something incredible. You move from being just a passive inheritor of old code to being the active designer of your inner world. You become the architect.
Always remember this: your past and your ancestors' past. It's just information. That's it. It is not a life sentence. You are the architect, and you get to decide how that information is used to build your life right here, right now.
And get this isn't just all in your mind. By consistently creating these coherent states, you're giving your body the signal to literally build new, stronger mitochondria. You're upgrading your hardware. And you can even speed up this process with physical things like cold exposure and the right nutrition, literally rebuilding yourself from the inside out.
So the power really is in your hands. You've got the blueprint, you've got the tools. The only question left is, when you look at your life, at the patterns and feelings that kind of hold you back, what inherited echo will you choose to rewrite first?